Welcome, guys, to CC Ngu podcast. Engineer CC, we're excited to have you here in the studio. We're still discussing the book titled The Pulpits That Blinded Africa. And in today's episode, we'll be discussing Chapter 4, The African Pulpit That Paralyzed a Nation. There was a time when the church stood for literacy, resistance, and community survival. Then, pastors were mediators, educators, stabilizers. But somewhere between the rise of neo-Pentecostal movements in the late 1980s and the explosion of prosperity empires in the 2000s, something shifted. Engineer CC, what happened?
What happened was gradual, subtle, almost invisible. The pulpit stopped being a platform for truth and became a stage for personality. Pastors were no longer shepherds, they became untouchable monarchs. Authority crossed the line into domination, but because it was wrapped in spiritual language, people didn't recognize it.
That's dangerous. I read about a 2013 service in Eastern Nigeria, Honor the Prophet Sunday. A gilded imported choir, members kneeling, bowing, dropping offerings at the pastor's feet. At what point does reverence or respect turn into worship of the messenger, or rather the pastor?
That's the line that was crossed. And once crossed, it created what we now call the pastoral aristocracy. Across parts of Africa, pastors began arriving in convoys bigger than presidents, 6 SUVs, police outriders. People are chanting, "Daddy." The symbolism is clear. The pastor is no longer just a leader. He is now an institution.
And institutions shape psychology. The pulpit doesn't just influence behavior, it shapes conscience. Let's talk about that control.
Fear-based preaching, emphasis on curses and unseen enemies. Obedience theology, submit without questioning, selective scriptures to keep people docile, and critical thinking framed as rebellion. When people stop questioning, they stop resisting. And when they stop resisting, they become manageable.
Like sister who wanted to leave an abusive marriage, her pastor told her Satan was attacking her greatness. He told the sister to stay. Years later, this sister returned with broken ribs.
You see, that's not faith, that's psychological captivity. The same way national crises were spiritualized. Unemployment, they blamed demons. Inflation, household enemies. Corruption, foundational altars. Instead of policy reform, there were fasting programs. In 2018, churches across Southern Africa declared a 30-day fast to break the spirit of recession. The recession stayed, but citizens were told they lacked faith. Instead of voting wisely, people were binding demons. Instead of building institutions, they were sowing seeds.
And then there's politics.
Yes, in 2020, a prophet in a Central African nation declared the incumbent president God's chosen vessel. Challenging him, he said, was rebellion against national destiny. After the election, 78% victory was recorded. But it surfaced that his ministry had received a strategic partnership donation from the ruling party. When questioned, he said, "I only say what God tells me." That's how spiritual language can lubricate authoritarianism. This is how Africa became the most religious continent, yet one of the least developed.
But I'm of the opinion that faith was never the problem.
Very correct. Manipulation of faith is the problem. The pulpit once liberated minds, but when it became a throne, it paralyzed the people. Now, the question is, how do we restore the pulpit to a place of truth, not control?
Engineer CC, we will attend to this question as we proceed.
Understood.
All right, we'll stop here, guys. Thank you, Engineer CC, for coming around. Please DM him if you desire private counseling. Also, remember this book is available on Amazon. See you guys in the next episode. My name is Amanda. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.